So, where do you feel yourself in this conversation of new music and biennial and
Yeah, it's a big question. I mean, I think the challenge is always the same for the last millennia, is trying to create something which is real to you, and that is informed by everything that you listen to and everything you breathe in artistically in life and everything, and then trying to make it actually means that it's something that's vital. And that really is totally caught up in the personality of the artist. And for me, it transcends time, and it doesn't have anything to do with this trend or that trend. It's the challenge of making a piece interesting, beautiful, something that represents yourself is still a challenge. And so the idea of new music, in a way, for me, is just music. Yeah.
what are some of the things that are inspiring you? We're going to hear a piece of yours that is composed for two flutes. And I'm curious to know what went into that. What experiences? Are there books that you're reading? Is there a walk you took? Is there
Yeah, so one of the strange things about being a composer or being any kind of artist, I think, is you have several things kind of competing for your attention at any given time. And the way those things come out in a particular work may at first feel very disparate. You have two things which have nothing to do with each other, and yet they're so present in your life that they come out in the piece in some way. And this piece I wrote back in 1994 as a doctoral student at Yale. And
Really?
Yeah, and the things that were on my mind at the time were I'd been studying the music of one of my teachers, Jacob Druckmann, and the idea of having all the players in an ensemble create a living organism by creating a single thing, a single line, a single melody. And so this piece is about that. So all three of the movements, basically the two flutes, are contributing in some way to a single idea, a single kind of living being in a way. And the first movement is about dialogue, and so there's a lot of kind of interruption and play between the two flutes. The second movement is kind of inspired by Japanese shakuhachi music and kind of creating that kind of breathy sound world with pitch bends and things like that. And the third is a perpetual motion piece in which a continuous string of fast music is kind of alternated in quick succession, and wouldn't be possible by a single flute player, but it is by two.
Your colleague at Yale, Martin Bresnick, gave you some advice on this piece.
So, talking about Martin always gives me advice on pieces, and this is good. That hasn't stopped in the last 22 years. And I think that's one of the great things about the environment, is that there's always a kind of a learning at whatever age you're at. And but in this case, he knowing that I was studying heterophony and the idea of composite movement and composite things, he said, go to the New Haven Greene and just look at the flocks of birds that are out there and study the way they relate to each other, kind of moving in a similar direction, but expanding and contracting and having kind of a one-mind approach to their movement. And it turned out to be, the inspiration in some ways behind this particular work.
Tell us who our two performers are.
Okay, so this is Andrew Robeson, who's now played the piece about 6 times. I'm really happy that he's involved in this. And then Felice Doinoff, who's is also at the School of Music, and both are superb performers.
Let us welcome them to the stage.